Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the third and final video for the Section 4, Chapter 1, Algebra 2 notes in your McGraw-Hill textbook. Again, we're talking solving absolute value equations. This video will consist of 4 additional examples of solving absolute value equations. So here we go. Again, here's an Algebra 1 level equation. We're going to start by, it's already solved for the absolute value, so we're going to split it up. On the one equation, we will simply drop the absolute value, giving us 8 equals y plus 5. And the other, we will change 8 to negative 8, and we will drop the absolute value bars. Both of these should be relatively easy Algebra 1 level equations. Subtract 5 from each side, and we get y equals 3 for our first answer, which we'll check that in a minute. And on the other, we will subtract 5 from each side, and we will get y equals negative 13. So now we're going to we do have to check. So we're going to check those answers. Here we have 8 equals 3 plus absolute value of 3 plus 5. That's true, so that is an answer. And here we have 8 equals the absolute value of negative 13 plus 5, which is 8 is the absolute value of negative 8. That is also true, so we have 2 solutions. Our second example here is not solved for the absolute value, so the first thing that we would do is subtract 8 from each side to get the absolute value by itself. That would give us the absolute value of 4b plus 1 is equal to negative 8. And right now, the problem should end, because we should immediately notice that sign right there, and we should know that absolute value cannot be negative, which means that this problem has no solution. So there's 2 more examples. Let's look at 2 more. Okay, same idea here. We're going to start by isolating the absolute value. We're going to divide each side by negative 2, which will give us that the absolute value of 3a equals negative 3. And folks, I'm screaming it for those of you in the back. Right there, that is a no solution. It is not possible for an absolute value to equal a negative number. The second we have absolute value equals negative 3, that problem is over. It is no solution. One more hard example, just so we can see one more of these more difficult problems. Again, our first step is to move the 2x. So we'd add 2x to each side, which would make this 3 times the absolute value of 2x plus 2 equals 3x plus 3. And then we would divide everything in that equation by 3, which would give us the absolute value of 2x plus 2 equals x plus 1. At this point, we are going to split it up. Our first equation, we will simply drop the absolute value, 2x plus 2 equals x plus 1. The other equation, we will drop the absolute value, and we will negate the right side of the equation. We're going to solve both of these equations. So we start off with subtracting an x from each side on the left equation, which means we're going to subtract 2 from the right side, or left side. That gives us x equals negative 1. So we're going to check that answer in a minute. Let's go ahead and solve the other equation first. So distribute the negative through there. Would give us 2x plus 2 equals negative x minus 1. Then we would want to add an x to each side and subtract 2, which would give us 3x equals negative 3. And we would then divide by 3, giving us the exact same answer, x equals negative 1. So now we need to check. we take that negative 1 and we plug it back into the original equation. 3 times the absolute value of 2 times negative 1 plus 2 minus 2 times negative 1 equals negative 1 plus 3. And we check to see whether or not this is a true equation. So we'd start by simplifying inside the parentheses, and we can go ahead while we're on the outside and we can add or multiply the negative 2 and the negative 1, and we can add over here. So that's 3 times the absolute value of 0 plus 2 equals 2, which is 3 times 0 plus 2, or 0 plus 2. That absolutely works out. So we have one answer, x equals negative 1. That does it for the Section 4 notes. We will see you in Section 5.